G'day, guys. Welcome to another podcast. Down to live. How's it going? Sorry for the bit of delay there, guys. We had a bit of a hiccup there with the technology. It's just one of those things here. You click the wrong button with technology and just sends you the wrong way, doesn't it? Look, guys, welcome to the show. Great to have you with me. It's great to be back on the live streaming again. Look, I think we'll get straight into this one here tonight. Just doing a little spiel that I usually do at the start of the shows, but luckily we'll get straight into it. So tonight's show, we've got Brian joining us tonight. He had an amazing experience there over in New Zealand, and I'm going to get him to come and talk to you all about it. And he's also been featured on the new documentary that's coming out this Thursday, about 7:30 p.m. on 7 Mate, with the new Aussie documentary there, Close Encounters Down Under. Now, it's not my documentary. I'd love to take the credit for it, but it's not mine. So calm down, guys. It's not for me. It's not mine. As much as I'd love to take the credit, but look, let's get him on here and go and talk about it. And welcome to the show there, Brian.
Yeah, hi, Anthony. Hi, you all.
Mate, great you having on. It's absolutely awesome. Now, you've had an amazing experience over in New Zealand, you mentioned, and you've even been featured on the Close Encounters Down Under documentary that's coming out this week. Mate, I'm going to let you go and spin the wheel here and go and tell us about your experience there and tell us how your whole encounter, really.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, well, it's a hell of a story. And I finally decided to tell it. I think we've reached a stage where people are quite open to it. But, I did notice, this is like 42 years ago, whatever. But back then when you talked about it, it was like, glaze and, it was not good for the career back then. And but it happened. So, look, and what happened was that you might have heard of there was some Kaikoura sightings that were big news at the time. That was about 78. And this was not long after that. And that Kaikoura thing there was, I think, a Quentin Fogarty, a news crew, caught it out of an Argosy airplane, out the windows. They caught this craft traveling beside them and that kind of thing. A light, it wasn't actually detail that I actually saw. But nonetheless, it was around that time. So the story goes, I was 1980 summer, which is probably 3 weeks long in Christchurch. But I was driving out at the end of the freeway out of Christchurch, and I don't even remember why I was driving out, but I used to just drive sometimes to think and listen to things and listen to interviews on radio, whatever it was. But I just got to the end of the freeway and driving up a hill, and I saw this bright light just going across the sky, and it kind of caught my attention because there was no flashing lights. Planes always have flashing lights. This was just a bright light. So I, while driving, I'd had to slow down because I was off the end of the freeway, coming out of Christchurch, as I said. And the moment I focused on it, I saw this craft, and I've had an artist draw a picture, which I'll have you show. And it was two-story house type size, but 3 levels, each level getting slightly smaller with a row of windows on each level. So I was driving and I saw this and it was like, whoa, what is that? That is it. And this is actually, I haven't quite got there to where this was recorded, or where it was, that's what I recorded. But essentially I did a U-turn, went down this country lane, and as I was driving down the country lane, this craft traveled across that lane and stopped in the middle of the paddock on the side. I'll describe a little bit more detail as we go, but so I pulled the car in by myself and just was like, whoa, what the hell is that? And it stayed there. Now, I've got to say that white light, the white underneath wasn't like that. It was a duller light, but the artist he put one big bright light. And so I've actually tried to lighten it up to create the effect, but it was a duller white light, but it just lit up the ground and the trees as that shows. So proportionally, it's correct. The hills are the hills behind Christchurch City, not quite as dramatic as that, but nonetheless about the same size. So proportionally, it's correct. So here's the thing. This wasn't a bright light in the sky going, oh, that must be a UFO. This was what I saw, and I witnessed this leaning against the front of my car for a quarter of an hour.
Wow, that's a long time.
That's different, right? That's a close encounter.
Yeah.
And I remember my mind going, whoa, what is that? And I got out of the car. leaning against the front of it, and I was just rubbing my eyes, going, I'm dreaming. No, I'm not. I even pinched myself, going, what? No, I'm not, definitely not dreaming. And look at that. And those windows, it doesn't show it very well there, but the windows were dully lit. So I studied those windows for the entire quarter of an hour, looking for movement, which I never saw. But anyway, as I said, studied it, and then I remember the thought process was, I'm not seeing this. And I was fascinated later on about why was my brain doing so much work trying to talk me out of it. In fact, it was. And so I was going, it can't be real, but it was. Then I remember thinking, well, I should flash my lights at it. And then it was like one of those, yeah, nah moments. I went, yeah, nah. And it's like, I don't know who the hell they are or what they are. It's like, I'll just watch it. And I kept watching it. And I remember dived back into my car. And I knew I didn't have a camera in the car, but I just bloody wanted to make sure just in case. And anyway, I dived back into the car and had a look at it. And then I just went out the front, and as I said, I just keep watching those windows. And after a quarter of an hour, and I timed it, 8 to 8:15 p.m. So the sky was dull like that, dusk. And the event the next night was a similar time, dusk, with a still half lit sky. But this was the first encounter, and so I was fascinated, and as I say, quarter of an hour gives you a chance to really think it through. It's not like, well, bright light, wow, that must have been something, This was like, well, this is real. And not honestly, talking 1980, so I've had 40-something years to process this. So I'm going to be talking through a lot of thought processing that I've gone through and studying, following all the UFO sites and things like that, and being and I call myself an open-minded skeptic. I criticize and write off, probably 20-30% of what I see as good CGI, nice move, but you just can't these days. There's so much, and it's growing. The reporting is growing. Anyway, back to the story. So then started to move off after a quarter of an hour. It started to move off, and it was heading across back. And in the distance was the city. So it started heading across the city of Christchurch. And I chased it in my car, and I was just chasing it and looking up, driving as it through the city, looking up. There it is. It's still going there. It was getting ahead of me, so I was struggling through traffic. And I ended up driving up to the top of the hill to a place, I think it's called the Sign of the Kiwi or something. But it's right on the top of the hill. And then I actually drove along that thinking it might have landed. I was excited now. I really wanted to do more. I got over and I didn't really have fear, but I got over that little concern I had. So then I drove along the hill thinking, I even got out of the car at one stage, looking at lights, thinking, wonder if it's landed, but it had gone. It had gone over the hill, but I was just trying to, see if I could get another look at it. So anyway, I went home, told my flatmates, so I was early 20s, so I told my flatmates, wow, this is what I've had, and they were like, wow, but like everyone, they had this, you get this like, yeah, okay, that you have a certain resistance to it. So they were a little bit, yeah, okay, but I didn't care. I was just like, this happened, this is what I saw, bloody amazing, yep. So anyway, that created a bit of a stir amongst my friends. And then the following night was the big event. And what happened then was I was up with my girlfriend, Carolyn at the time, and we were up in the base of the hills, this very hills where that went to. We were just above the city, so you could just see rolling down over the city. And it was dusk again. And as we were driving a quiet street, no traffic, nothing. It was just, and as we drove, and it always reminded me of the beginning of the very first Star Wars. The windscreen, across the top of the windscreen, a big black shadow. So it's dusk, but this was a black shadow went over at least 2 football fields in size. Huge. I can't quite remember the shape of the front because I was still taking it in, but it just went over the top. I stopped the car in the middle of the street, and we both got out, doors open. went, wow, and watched this thing going over the city, over the edge of the city, kind of a quarter into the city, the northern edge, heading pretty much northeast a bit, I think, but northerly. So heading out towards, there's a river, I think called the Waimakariri or something, but it was that direction. I took a bead on it. So she went there anyway, I'll describe that in a sec. But yeah, so this thing went over the city. It had two huge trailing black arms, no lights, which has puzzled me ever since. But it was just black. It was just a black shape, two huge trailing arms, massive things. So not, I know everyone's going to say, "See, Star Trek, and all that kind of thing," but it did. Truth is, it did. And so we were like, "Wow!" And now she was going, "Wow," because she'd heard before the night before. And here was this mothercraft. Essentially, that's what it was. Mothercraft, 2, if not 3 football fields inside. Size, big thing, blotted out the sky from here to there. It was like big. And silent, absolutely silent, as was the first craft. So I've come to figure out that the first one the night before was a scout craft of sorts. But anyway, we turned on the radio and people were ringing in the radio station. They were going, "Well, did you see that? Wow, this thing just went over the city." And the radio, another radio station, same thing. And as it turned out, this was in the paper and on the radio and for the next few days. But anyway, we were listening to this, and I don't quite know why I did it, but because I'd taken that bead to the river mouth, we just drove out there to the river mouth. And so I realise I'm just talking here. So you're happy to just carry on like this?
Keep going, mate. No, you're doing wonderful.
I'm just hitting play and playing what happened, So, but as I say, we went out to this river mouth, drove out, and there were some fishermen, 3 old fellas and a young guy. I mean, I was young too, and we said, "Did you guys see anything weird coming over?" It's like, these old fellas were, "Oh," and this young guy said, "Yeah, we saw it." It's like, we saw this big thing coming over. And when it got above us, he said it started sparking, lights or sparks flashed, and it just went up into the sky into a dot. It took off. Turned on its hyperdrive. I'm not sure if he said that, but it was effectively, that's what it looked like to him. And he described it. Then he got on his CB and called in a bunch of others. Anyone else see this? And people were coming in. Other people were saying, "Yeah, we saw it." "No, we didn't." That kind of thing. And then the radio stations again were kind of getting people calling in all over the place. And I estimate there was at least 1,000 witnesses, if not more. I don't know about the night before, because it did go over the city, but I've never heard of that. And, to be honest, I'm hoping this podcast, one of the reasons I'm doing this is I'm hoping that it's going to draw people out of the woodwork who remember this, because there was media and radio, and I've tried to Google it and that kind of thing. I've never been able to track it down, but a media specialist would be. The evidence and the media coverage was there. Christchurch Press or whatever it was called. But anyway, so...
What date did that happen? Sorry, mate? What date was that one happen? What date did that one happen?
This is the next day. I'm sorry, yeah.
Oh, so the next day.
The first night was Friday night.
Yep, sorry.
This is now the Saturday night, right? The following night, when the big craft went over the top, and that's when we went out to the river mouth, did that, all that sort of thing. So anyway, we went back to our flat. I had 3 or 4 flatmates back then, and they were raving about it. And of course, it was on the radio, so they were all hearing this too. And so they were all, "Wow, that's really confirmed it in their minds, But what I noticed was people were struggling with it. Some of the people were really, and I became quite intrigued with that. They were struggling to come to grips with it. Like mentally, it's a big jump, I realize it now. And I can talk about this comfortably now, but it took 40-something years of processing to do it. I tried talking about it with people, weeks and months after and years after, but it was just, as I say, they would just close off, and you can see them going, "Oh, guys lost it," and they struggled with their own disbelief. But anyway, so what happened was, because the Saturday night, we're back home and raving again. So a bunch of us, 3 or 4 of us, jumped in the car the Sunday night. So this is Friday, Saturday, big mothercraft. Sunday night, we went up to top of the hill, just in case, because I mean, what else? Where else would you go? You know, we were all pumped and excited about it. And so we went up to the hill, and you know, there was bloody at least 100 other people up there having picnics on the grass with telescopes, binoculars, and cameras, because it was pre-mobile phone. So, but anyway, so they were up there, and they're all like us, hoping it would come back. So yeah, from my friend's point of view, that confirmed it. You know, it's like all these other people up there as well now. They'd all seen it, and you know, all across the hillside. You know, it was bloody quite a sight. So it's just then the newspaper the next day picked it up. They just reported it actually as it was. You know, just like I don't know, 3-column, you know, 3-4 centimeters, something like that. Not front page. It was, you know, probably 10, 11, 12 pages in or something like that. But they did report it. And then over the following days, there was another little report, and the radios talked about it a bit more. And then eventually, about a week later, 5-7 days, something, there was an article in the paper saying it had been written off by the experts as reflections of a fishing fleet out at sea.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Like best they could do. It was just craziness. But, you know, so look, that's a synopsis of the whole 3-day event. As I say, if someone did the research, that evidence is all there. But God knows what, microfiche or something, you know, it's like, I don't know how you would actually track that down. But the Encounters Down Under 6-part series coming out, which is, I mean, you could take some credit there, Anthony. You got the name right. Well, they did.
That's right. I think they stole from me. I was like, you buggers, I was going to create a documentary like when I get down to that. But, they stole it from me.
You're going to get a whole lot more subscribers once this show starts, Shane.
Yeah, no, looking forward to bring it on.
Yeah,
that's right. I know. How does that make sense, though? Like, you know, this is Aussie content. Gets sent overseas first, and then we get like the last bit of it, the dregs.
Yeah, look, they're trying to sell it around the world. So the UK, not Prime, but some unusual channel.
Blaze or something, I think it was, or something like that.
Yeah, and they showed it, and I tried to have a look at it, but it's global. What do they call it? Global barred, you know?
Yeah, it's locked. Regional locked.
Regional lock, and you know, even Surfshark wouldn't solve the problem.
Oh, bugger. The old VPN's no good these days.
But I had a guy contact me saying, "Hey, I saw you last night. You know, yours was really interesting, but the guy after you was a."
Oh, hang on, we lost him. What's happened? They've cut us off. The deep state's cut us off. I hope we're still alive, guys. I'm not sure what's going on. Throw some comments in there, guys, to make sure we're still alive.
Yeah, no, we just dropped out.
Still good? All right, we're good. I think the deep state's getting
in the second episode. So it starts this coming Thursday, and then the second episode presumably is next Thursday, 27th.
Just hang on a second there, mate. I think we just had a bit of a freeze up moment there. I'm not sure what happened there. Just go back probably about 30 seconds from where we were talking. I'm not sure what happened. Like, you just froze on us.
Yeah.
So so if you can just go back probably about 30 seconds prior to what you were talking about.
So this series, 6-part series coming on 7 Mate and TVNZ as well, I understand soon. It starts this coming Thursday. What's that? The 20th, I think.
Yep.
So, and I'm in the second one, which is the 27th. So you're getting the scoop here, Anthony.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I reckon, you know, you're going to get a much stronger following, because everyone's going to think that, you know, you triggered this. You are the Encounters Down Under bloke. You know, you're the man.
Yeah. Well, I did play my part there. I did throw a few people there with the Encounters there to go get featured on the documentary there, and I actually got featured on there as far as I know. I hope I made the cut, because I did a horrible job during the interview. But hopefully they make me look good if they do throw me in there. But anyway, I helped out at least a little bit. So just so to say.
Yeah. Oh,
so
good. So they've actually stolen your name. Is that what's happened?
Pretty much, yeah. It's like, oh wow, okay. As soon as they come up with the paperwork there to go, can you sign here to tell and say like you agree to the terms or whatever, like you're on here and that, blah blah blah. And I seen the name of the documentary, I'm like, geez, that's a bit close to mine.
All
right.
Yeah, well, there
But
you go.
look, I'm not too worried.
You're the inspiration then. Oh,
Yeah,
good
it's
on
right.
you. Yeah, good on you.
Cheers. No, look, but
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing about this whole documentaries and doing podcasts and that, and like people coming forward with their experiences there, because of the whole subject has been taboo for so long. There, we want the credibility of these people's experiences there to be known, because it's such a taboo subject, and people are saying things that are strange, and that's the whole idea behind what I do anyway, to try and bring credibility to people's experiences. And I'm
yeah,
hoping that this documentary that they brought out now, I'm hoping they're doing the same thing too, because like there's so many documentaries out there now, they're all repeating the same crap. Everyone's seen this same, you know. For like the first thing they load up into a documentary these days is like, is there life out there? For years we've been wondering in space, is there other species or other civilizations out there? Blah blah blah. That's how it always opens up on every bloody documentary you watch these days. So I'm hoping these guys are able to produce something a bit different, and bring a lot more credible experiences
yeah,
to light.
yeah. Well, you know what? They did ask me what are my views, and as I said, 40 something years to process this. Here's my views. I see Earth as being the messy house on the street. If you think about that, you get this messy house on the street, and we're it. We're destroying our planet, and slowly, bit by bit. And so and our neighbours are getting concerned. And so they are coming, and that's why we're seeing there's a growing number of reported sightings. So I think they're trying to get us used to the fact that we live in a much bigger galaxy. It's teeming with life out there. And if you just look at the huge variety of craft, including probably drones and all sorts of things, it's massive. And they're all visiting, checking us, but they obviously have this, what does Star Trek call it, where you don't interfere with the prime directive, where you don't interfere with them. But so they're always very low key and shoot off as they can. But I'm noticing they're starting to be more, they're coming out more flagrantly. They're coming really in our face more. And they're trying to wake us up to the fact that, hey, geez, you guys, you're part of a galaxy. Earth's a bloody one street and or a house on a street, and you've got cities and then many cities and so forth. So it's abundant life and huge variety of forms, I would expect. But I remember I said in the interview, I said, but Earth's probably one of those places, when you drive, like the messy house on the street, where, when you drive past, you lock the doors just to be safe.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a bit of a joke these days because human civilizations, we're a horrible civilization as it is. Greed and always trying to conquer each other's countries and that. And like, who would want to come and visit us over anyway?
Yeah.
It's we are a horrible race when we think about it.
Well, we are, and the real question, is why is that? It's because I think most humans don't want that. So I've come to the conclusion that the controlling elite kind of create this angst and warfare, and they somehow keep us suppressed. It's almost like, I've heard Earth is described as like a prison planet or something, where they're just generating all this drama and everything. And why is the whole UFO thing? I mean, in the media, it's well known until recently. You're never allowed to file a report about UFOs. It's just from the top of the top. And why is that? Well, because the controlling bloody elite, the cabal, whatever you want to call them, they don't want us waking up. They don't want us waking up to the fact that there's other technology probably better than theirs. They want to maintain control. So I actually have come to the conclusion that, that there is some kind of super elite control cabal, whatever you want to call it, black, controlling influence that has been suppressing our growth and evolution. And
Yeah,
I think, frankly, the way it's building at the moment, I reckon we're in for what's been called disclosure. I mean, the bloody Pentagon is now admitting it. The US military, they're admitting it. So I reckon within this year, maybe 2 at the outside, but I reckon probably this year, there's going to be a big disclosure, and it's going to go, yeah, guys, this has been real. And, and there's a lot about your history that we're going to tell you now that has been suppressed from you. And anyway, so that's my philosophical way I've come to grips with it all, having had those 40 something years to process it and see so many craft being recorded and and all the stories. And I've read and studied it because it's fascinating. You know, once you see it for real, as I said to my son, look, once you know for real that it's a lot of life out there and they're visiting us regularly and that kind of thing, boy, it expands your thinking to a galactic scale, not a global scale.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's sort of weird, like when you think about it too. Like, why even knock us down in technology when we could have been so far ahead and advanced? Like if you heard the rumors there, like conspiracies there, that Nikola Tesla was well in front. He was talking to aliens, if you want to call them that, or some other beings there that were sort of helping him gain technology and understand it, whatever, and he was providing it. And if you want to go down the conspiracy path there, where he was assassinated or something, like that, to stop him from keep producing or whatever, like the technology that he had that has been sort of been brought out into the open now, it is well and truly above our time now. And if you
Yeah,
think like if we were developing that from that time then to now, what would we be at right now? It's
yeah,
it's mind blowing to think where we could be today with that sort of technology. And because even though we were today, like I think the way I see it, like Roswell was our technological boom. Well, they got the technology from the craft. If that's how you want to look at it, I sort of that's my opinion on that. I sort of feel like when the Roswell crash happened, we started getting a lot of technology, like computer chips, CDs, microwaves, all that sort of stuff, and we boomed from there. And then we haven't really improved since then. We've only just improved the technology that we have. There's nothing that's really sort of mind blowing technology to open us up to a new sort of technological age kind of thing. Except for maybe now the AI sort of stuff's coming out now, which is very scary. I feel because AI is going to be doing a lot of. Once it becomes self aware, we're getting a whole Skynet and Terminator style happen for sure. you know, but
yeah,
it's just amazing. But like to think that we could have been so far ahead of it, but because of greedy corporations and all sorts of stuff want to keep us knocked down, keep the lower guys working their asses off, have no quality of life because they're too busy working, to me it's just crap. And we should be
yeah,
having a
yeah,
quality of life.
yeah. Look, I read a fascinating article a while ago about how time travel, space travel in space is in effect time travel. So they said that the theme of it was that if you were trying to control the planet and not let it develop, then what you would do is you'd go back in time, and whenever a discovery was starting to pop up, you would go back in time and do something about it to ensure it got wrapped up in legal things. Something happened, someone got knocked off, whatever it was, come down them, come down on them hard, and it would never see the light of day. And
Mm.
Tesla, his final days were not the happiest. But man, you're right. He was opening all sorts of doors and that kind of thing. Michelle Pratt just put in there, what timeline are we? Well, I think we're jumping timelines at the moment. We're jumping way ahead, and we're in for a big awakening. But imagine what would happen, because I've noticed this when I tell some people, they go, "Wow, that's interesting," and others go, "Oh," So with
Yeah.
disclosure, I reckon it's going to split society. You're going to get those that go, "Yeah, well, it kind of makes sense." And the other's going to go, "What a lot of shit, all shit." It's like, that's a lot of crap. And I can see this big split happening, and it's going to be fascinating. And I tell you what, if the stage arrives, I'd probably jump on it and tell my story, on a global scale.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
do my
Well,
bit.
in a sense, disclosure's already happened because the American government's already admitted to these things flying around in their airspaces, and they're even saying
Yeah,
that things are flying around other
yeah,
countries that they're aware of. Whether the only thing is they didn't really admit to who they are because they claim that they don't know who they are or what they are. So in that sort of regard, it is a kind of a disclosure in a sense, but it's just not the disclosure that we sort of
yeah,
really wanted to sort of like go, hey, aliens are here. That's what we really wanted, and
yeah.
this undeniable footage and pictures and stuff would like to go and back that up. But yet they still give us these pixelated infrared footage there that just gives nothing. It's
Yeah. They're
as
doing it
horrible as
bit
it is,
by
but
bit, I think. It's a bit by
yeah,
bit trying
a
to
drip feed.
adjust the population to it or something. But I mean, the 7 9, Channel 7 News thing, Ross Coulthard, the
Yep.
60 Minutes reporter, if you want to get a good overview, I mean, his shows are brilliant. The first one, when he was set out to disprove it, what a lot of conspiracy theorists this was and that kind of thing. And he ended up going, my God, it's true. It's like,
Yeah.
and spoke to the highest people, and then he gets, US naval pilots saying they do this training down near Florida or something or other. They have this training route they go. And for 2 years, there was a craft positioned on their particular point, some navigation point. And it was something like a cube with a sphere in it, or a sphere with a cube in it, or something like that. And
Yeah.
they saw it every day for 2 years. And so, this guy's actually coming forward. And the people are now, everyone's been so suppressed and careers ruined that, they typically haven't come forward, but people are now doing it. And they're going, bugger it, it's time. It's time. Wake up, everyone. And by the way, let's get rid of these people at the top, so that have been suppressing all this stuff. Your days are done. And I reckon that's the stage we're in now.
Yeah, look, honestly, especially with the policy, I sort of feel like a lot of people in the past, like I mentioned this a lot in the podcast and previous episodes, and that pilots have lost a lot of their credibility as well when they speak about these
Yeah.
strange crafts going around. And I sort of feel like there needs to be
Swamp gas.
swamp gas, exactly. I sort of feel like the governments need to be held accountable for what they've been doing to these pilots, or even other sort of personnel, that have been trying to report these things. Like they need to be held accountable for calling these people crazy, trying to dismiss what they're trying to tell everyone, and why? Why do they need to be classed as a crazy person who risks their careers, anything of their life? They're risking their whole lifestyle, just to go and report this, but yet they just want to get shunned to the dark side. It's horrible. I sort of feel, and I still feel like the pilots or anyone who has lost their career because of that, I still feel like they need to be justified to the reasoning and what's happened. If that
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
It's been a horrible thing that they've been doing to people for a long time. And so that's why, the days of this, whoever that controlling group is, they need the big flick, and and let peace reign, let people get back together. And because I don't think humanity's that bad. Our planet sure looks it when you look at all the dramas, but it's the controlling forces that bring that about. And I think when people were with good, what would we say, humanistic, benevolent leadership, things could really change.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I'd love to sort of see us
I
like
just
as
missed
a
that comment about Ross Coulthard.
yeah. So Felicity's joined in the comments there saying Ross Coulthard is mainstream media. He's doing this for a reason. I think is to make it more believable if they decide to pull out the alien invasion card, which is I sort of find a bit hard
Yeah,
with the alien invasion thing. It's going to be a big thing to try and organize that. Um, and I can't really see why they would go. Okay, we admit to these things there, but we don't know what they are. Only to go and do a fake invasion for what reason? Like to me, that
yeah.
doesn't really make much sense. Like there could be a lot of
Well,
reasons, but I'm not in that sort of position to say really.
yeah. Well, look, I've looked at this too, and I reckon it's the last remnants of those in power fighting a rearguard action, trying to say, oh, it's like, it's all going to be an invasion, and so it's going to be bad, and it's not. If they were going to invade, they would have done it bloody hundreds of years ago. It's like they are purposely low key and watch us and shake their heads, and it's like driving past that messy house on the street again. It's like, oh, when are they going to clean up their act? Maybe we should neighbours get together and come and have a chat with them. And that's what's going to happen. That's
Oh,
disclosure. I reckon the real disclosure is going to be when we actually have our neighbours rock up and go, guys, let's just paint a picture here of what's really happening and what's really going on out there and what's been happening to you guys and that kind of thing.
yeah. So everyone's going the comments here. Liz is going Project Bluebeam, and Michelle's saying fear keeps pushing fear.
Yeah,
So going on the fear and the alien invasion sort of thing there, like look, put it this way, like these things have been these beings, crafts, whatever you want to call them, they've been around for potentially thousands of years, if not longer. They could have been previous civilizations, tens of thousands of years before us. But so these guys have been hovering around us for our civilizations, and they've had the perfect opportunities there to go and try and wipe us out if they really were going to try and invade
yeah,
us. So when you're going to put like an alien invasion, a fake invasion or something like that, it doesn't make sense to go, why make
Yeah,
a
it
fake
doesn't.
invasion in that regard when they've had so much opportunity in the past to go and wipe us out. Even now, they
Yeah,
could even wipe us out. But the only problem is that they'll will start pushing back with the nukes and then
yeah,
destroy the whole world, and
yeah.
then it's buggered. So to me, the fake invasion sort of thing just doesn't make sense. I can't really see
Doesn't
that
add
being a
up.
thing.
Yeah, no,
It
it's
doesn't.
not. It doesn't wash, does it? Hey, look, I think that I'm not saying there's no bad guys and black hats, whatever you want to call them, out there in the universe, but I think that it's the benevolent species are the ones who are really trying to bring us up to speed on what's going on, the bigger picture, facilitate our own evolution, and welcome us into a galactic community. I really think that they're dying to have a big party and welcome us aboard. But we've got a lot of work to do, and they're helping us to lift our game, evolve, whatever you want to describe it. So look, we're in for a fascinating time. What better time to be alive, right now than to have this sort of transition, this what's the word everyone's using at the moment? This
Woke.
ascension, the lifting of society, of humankind's, spiritual development, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Which is, I think, is a strong thing too. We do need to have a bit of a stronger spiritual development. But unfortunately, the way things are, everyone's too busy looking at their phones, watching around what's the world, too involved in crap TikTok and all that sort of stupid shit. You can get stuck in the damn things for hours throughout the day. I'm guilty of it myself. I hate it as much as I hate to admit it. But like everyone's too busy, sort of, looking on their phones to sort of be focused on the human nature and all sorts of stuff to try and create the spiritual reality and try and connect. Because everyone's too busy looking at the phones trying to connect through that way, or they're arguing over stupid, like, black, white, black, blue, gay, lesbian, whatever, all that sort of crap. People are too busy arguing with that. And like in reality, I don't think anyone really cares if anyone's gay or black or
Yeah,
white. There's no care for that. But it's just the social media pushes it so much, and then people sort of, I don't know whether trolls basically. They're amping everyone up, and it keeps us divided. And so that's where
yeah,
we're not getting the
which is the plan.
spirituality. Yeah, which is exactly the plan.
Mm.
So we're not connecting to the level that we should be because of all this crap on the social medias. Get rid of social
Yeah,
media and all that
or
sort of
main
stuff,
media
then
particularly.
we'll probably connect a lot better.
Mm. Yeah, well, that's right. No, well said.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I'm getting flustered now. It gets frustrating me. But so look, I want to go back to your first experience there. Like, so now this craft, you see, you're like 15 minutes there. So I'm going to put this back
Yeah,
up.
put it up again.
Throw it back up there and get
Yeah,
back
that was
on
it.
here. So, what do you think the
Yeah,
actual craft was doing there for 15 minutes? Like, what do you think
it
is
just
the
hovered. It
whole?
was absolutely silent. It hovered, just sat there. It went across the road, and then just went out into the middle of this paddock. Boom, and I drove in, pulled the car in, pointing at it like that, and that's what I saw for a quarter of an hour. Silent. I remember thinking, "Damn, there are no V8 exhausts coming out of that mother." Like what? And I've had this curious, and I have an organisation I've created now, and doing renewable energy research called Mag Energy,
Oh, nice.
because I that is got to be powered by something. And what is it? So we want to research the actual technologies that enable that sort of anti-grav silent motion, and what the hell does it? How does it do it? And what's the fuel? These were the thoughts going through my mind. It's like, and I did have that thought of that, no exhaust pipe. So, what the hell is it? And those windows, as I said, the main thing for me was studying those windows because they were dully lit. There was a not dark, it was a metallic, the whole thing was metallic, like a silver in the dusk, but those lights were lit slightly lighter. So, and I just, as I said, I never saw any movement, but damn, I studied those, watching for it. I wanted to see if anyone's going to wave at me, and then what would I do? I don't know. But the funniest thing was, shall I flash my lights at it? I flash my lights,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Always remember
but
that
like
moment.
over the years you had been. So over the years you've been thinking about this. Like, have you had any ideas like what its cause for being there would be? Like, any ideas of like what it might have been doing in that
I,
nature?
yeah, well, I think it just like they are. They come to investigate and check out the locals. That's like, we don't want to go and upset the messy house on the street, but let's go and just have a look at it. And from what I've studied astronomy a lot, and I've followed all of these sciences as well. So I reckon Earth's a beautiful blue-green planet, and it's probably, from what I've been hearing and reading, it's probably quite rare. It's not as common. So I think
It's unique.
there's a lot of sightseeing and investigation. I mean, you read about cow mutilations and that kind of thing. So I've concluded that, well, if you're studying, you would study the animals, and geez, they eat a lot of those. So let's go and have a look at what they are.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. It's research.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they're doing, is they're keeping an eye on us, and a lot of research going on. But this was, as I said, the fact that went over the hill, and the big mothercraft the following night came from exactly that same spot back the other way. So it was a scout craft for the mothercraft, and why did I get to see it? Time will tell. I don't know, but
Right place, right time.
I got lucky. It certainly woke me up, put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the second craft, I don't think you really mentioned much of a shape. You just said there's a black shape to it. Like, what was the actual initial shape to the actual whole craft?
Well, because it was going like this, I don't quite recall the front edge shape, because I was still waking up to it. It's like it's just gone over. And I'm talking to the tops of the windscreen of the car, so I stop the car and get a look. So, but then it was just a big, wide football field and a half wide. I mean, it blotted literally sky from there to there. So it was big, and then it had these two massive trailing arms that went quite a long way back, with a big gap between them. So, and they
It's
were
sort of like the Star Trek Enterprise sort of look to it.
Like, but all on the one level, one plane.
Yeah, okay.
No, not like Star Trek. That's why I said I'm joking. The bloody Star Trek.
Yeah, that's probably like the best relevance.
Right. But it wasn't. It wasn't like that. But it did have those two massive trailing arms. And I was fascinated with the fact that the guys out at where it went to, when he said it turned on the hyperdrive, because they saw sparks and lights, and then it went up into the sky, a massive craft like that. So, but I've never seen any other shapes similar, or maybe a couple to that mother craft in all the ufology. And I've been following it all. I've got probably a terabyte of images and videos that I've collected in that 40 years. But I've never seen that craft, never seen anything like that one. And that's intrigued me. I thought, you don't tend to see windows. They don't typically have windows. So the fact that it had windows was, for me, it just made it much easier to accept, I suppose.
Yeah. Was it spinning at all?
Sorry?
Was it spinning at all?
No, yeah, and a lot of them do. You see that sort of rotation thing happening. A lot of them do, the lights, and they can. As I said, this just had a glowing dull light underneath. It wasn't that harsh white. That's actually liquid paper I put in, because the guy had one bright light under, the artist, and that wasn't what it was. So I tried to get it closer to reality by putting white out. But it was a duller, diffuse, soft light. Totally silent, did not move, just stopped, did not rotate, nothing like that. But those 3 levels of windows, as I say, big 2-story house, that was 150 meters, probably 30 meters off the ground. And just, look, I'm getting the feeling going up the back of my neck now, just remembering it. It was an awesome moment, but not a minute, 15 minutes, and that was just so different.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I was sort of curious on. Like, do you have any thoughts on what they could have been doing? Like, why would
well,
they
I
be
reckon
sitting
they
for
were
15
checking
minutes?
me out. I've come, it's like, look at
It's a
this
long
guy
time to
down
sit there.
here. And they, who knows if they got telepathy and that kind of thing, but they're probably going, well, he's trying to figure it out. He's going through that process. Oh, there he goes, rubbing his eyes. Now he's pinching himself. And that's exactly what I did. It's like, this is real. I'm not dreaming this, but it felt like a dream initially. And that's interesting. A lot of people say that. Feels like a dream because you're struggling to comprehend it. But, after a few minutes, I was like, well, damn, I can't get rid of it. It's there,
And that's the biggest thing too. Like once you experience something like this, it just absolutely blows your mind. Like I've never seen something like this myself. I've only seen something that's strange, but I haven't been able to identify it because there's nothing I could really go and cut it close to something like to really explain it. Like I did have something that might be an idea, but then the people I spoke to who also saw it, that just ruled out every possibility to
Yeah,
try and identify it. So therefore, to me, that's an unknown on that one. And like,
yeah.
yeah, and since that day, like, even though I was already interested in the whole topic to begin with, it gives you a really big buzz. You're like, going, "Whoa, I'm seeing something here I can't explain." And it's just like, but
So,
for people who like yourself who have seen something like this, it's absolutely incredible. Like it
yeah,
gets me buzzing, going, "Oh, I want to see something like this." And I'm like, I'm sure so many other people want to see something like this too.
yeah. Well,
But
you will, Anthony, you will,
I'm
and
hoping.
soon. And soon. But I'll tell you what, it's interesting you say that because they try and rationalize and justify it because
Yeah,
it's really uncomfortable for them. There's cognitive dissonance and stuff like that, right? So it's like, oh, so it was a light, it was this, it was reflections of a fishing fleet, it was all these different things. And it's because they're trying to, they're being conditioned as we have all been conditioned. So they're trying to explain it away. Whereas I had the time to actually come to grips with it. Yeah, it is a Devo hat, isn't it, Jane? Hey, I'll tell you what, actually, that reminds me though, not just Devo, but there's an amazing group called the Fifth Dimension, right?
I
And
think I've heard of them.
they have got a couple of songs, The Age of Aquarius and Up and Away on My Beautiful Balloon and that kind of thing. But one of the most amazing songs I would recommend everyone listen to, it was originally by Klaatu, but the Carpenters covered it, and it's called Calling Occupants of Interplanetary
Yep, yeah,
Craft.
that's him.
Have a listen to that. And there's a World Contact Day that was spawned by that song. Every year, once a year, the people around the world try to make contact with these higher beings. But anyway, in Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft by the Carpenters. And it was played by a guy who had a show a bit like yours, who had a radio show, and he started off with this funny thing about, they were interrupting him and he's trying to, run his show, and then they cut into the song. But it's an amazing song. It's extraordinary what the actual words say and how prescient it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got Trooper here, and the questions. We did sort of cover. I was going to ask the question, but you sort of answered the question regardless. But I'll ask the question just to help Trooper out here. So did you lose any
Yeah,
time? So I noticed
yeah,
any missing
good
time?
question. Good question. I bloody didn't, and well, I don't think I did. It's like because I was looking at my watch and I checked it, and I didn't get any. There was no voices in my head or anything either like that. But yeah, I've thought about that, and people have asked me that the question before, but I'd swear I didn't. But I just how do you sure? As I said, quarter of an hour. Who knows what actually went on that I was unaware of? I don't preclude that as an option, but I was totally unaware of it.
Yeah, just the fact that you kept an eye on the time. I sort of feel like it rules out the possibility of it. But after that,
Yeah.
whilst you're traveling to try and catch this thing, there could have been a possibility there as well. I don't know if you're taking notice of the time then, but I'm just speculating here. So, I've lost you again. You're going glitchy on me.
Yeah.
Go.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
no, you're
Yeah.
back.
Dropping in and out a bit.
Yep.
There was certainly nothing
Go away, deep
like,
state.
being taken aboard or anything like that that I was aware of. I mean, who knows? But no, mine was kind of I was about to say normal experience, but it's not normal really at all, is it?
No, it's not. And another question I was going to ask too, like when you were all on top of the hill there with like the 100 viewers there on trying to spot these things again, did you happen to talk to anyone there about your experience there, like the night prior?
But, sorry, the night prior? Or,
Yeah, the night prior. So so you've obviously seen this object first, and then
oh,
the
yeah,
next
this
night,
one Friday night,
the
then the Saturday,
yep,
the big mothercraft went over the city,
that's
then
right.
the
That's right. Then
Sunday night, we
the
went up the hills
Sunday
for
night.
people everywhere, waiting for it to
Yes,
come back.
that's right. Yeah,
Uh,
sorry.
Yeah,
Did you
just
talk to
my
anyone?
flatmates. Look, I filed a report. I had a ufologist guy come out a few days after all this happened, and I filed a big report. But I can't track him down either. He was probably 30ish and really interested. So he took did all the notes and that kind of thing. But no, it was just friends and my flatmates, and we had a couple of other flats nearby. We had friends there, so there's probably 5 or 6 of us. And first night I was woo, this is what's happened, and they were wow, and then the second night was big time because it was news everywhere. And then that's when we hopped in the car and packed up and went up the hills, and that blew them away, blew me away too. But to see everyone there, with their binocs and cameras.
Yeah, but did you happen to talk to anyone there at the time though, like discussing the whole scenario with anyone, or did you mention to your first encounter there to see if anyone else might have seen the same object?
Well, look, it was because it was over the radio. We tuned into 2 or 3 stations, and it was coming in on all the radio stations. We just figured there'd be, it was a big event. There'd be a lot of it, and so I just followed the newspapers and the radio. Didn't hear much more about it on the radio after that, but the papers covered it a bit. But it was the people ringing in on the radio as it was happening, as it happened. Because as I said, while we were driving out to this river mouth, which is where the line I took on it, where it went to, we were listening to these people going, wow, we just saw this, we just saw that. And that's why I'm saying if the media coverage is somewhere there, and I am asking if this gets to someone from the Christchurch at that time, about 1980, and it was summer because it was warm, that remembers parts of this or whatever, get in touch, let us know, and let Anthony know, because there's got to be corroborating evidence given the numbers of people who were around and witnessed it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's got to be someone who's got to have
It's never made the media. It's never been this. I think I'm the first actually bringing this out into the public domain. I gave a talk on it once in Perth here, where I live, out at Paddock University, and talked as I'm talking to you about it in front of a bunch of probably 60, 80 people, and with this a group called the Australian Research Psychical Research ASPAR group or something or other. But otherwise, I've been for quite a while. I was low key because every time you raise it, people would just go whoa, and they weren't ready. And to this day, some people, I've got friends who are just not ready. They're like, oh yeah, you don't believe in that shit, do you? And I said, yeah, no, I know it. It's beyond belief. I know it. I sat there watching it,
Yeah.
And so therefore, the extrapolation is, therefore, we're part of a larger galactic, global, I keep saying global, galactic community. And it's teeming with life out there, and all forms of life, presumably. And damn, a lot of them are visiting us, checking us out, and they are waking us up, and it's accelerating, and it's all about to happen in the next year or two, sooner than later. And so, Anthony, your show is going to go ballistic when this really starts to happen.
Yeah, look,
good on you for doing it, by the way. Good on you for doing it.
No, thank you. But look,
especially treating this TV series. I mean, you've got to get some credit for that.
He's hoping it'll be good. So I got a question here from Michelle. Have you gone under hypnosis, or have you considered going under hypnosis to try and get
another good question? I have actually. I did it, and it was only about a year ago. I started to follow an amazing hypnotist called Dolores Cannon. And she has quantum healing hypnosis technique, QHHT. So there's a local lady, and I went to her, and didn't really not really go under, but I went through the whole process. But there was nothing. That's what I was curious about, the missing time factor, and what else might have happened while I put under during this event, and what might have else happened. But none of that came out. So it was just got more detail. It was just, and so I'm now able to, as I have here, flesh it out more with you.
No, that's awesome. That's excellent. Oh, at least it's got something out of it. So I've got another question here from Chris from a little bit while back there. Just going through your encounter. So Chris has asked, if you did not have this encounter, would you still be in the same profession you're in today? I think he's probably referring to your magnetics and all sorts of stuff.
Oh,
Your
the meg energy.
energy.
Well, that's a sideline business. Yeah, look, I'm a mentor, and like I've done the whole corporate thing, senior executive type role, and I've been a mentor to a lot of business startups and that kind of thing. So it's a brilliant question, really, because it has steered me into understanding cognitive, or now called neuropsychology. I have devoted 25 years to assisting, Felicity's right, assisting people with unsetting and resetting mindsets. So perception became a huge fascination for me as a result of this, because that my perceptual system was trying to talk me out of an obvious reality that was staring me in the face. Why was that? Cognitive dissonance. So I've learned all of this stuff, and I've been teaching it, and I've run all sorts of senior executive teams, 400 workshops, with including premiers and ministers and senior executives of major companies and major programs. Just sort of, and it's all about how you adjust mindsets, how the mind side of things work. So as I describe it, what the keyboard functions are for the neck-top computer, or how to give yourself an OS update, fix the glitches and add some features. That's what you do with your phone. Do it for yourself. So that's been my career, and I would attribute it a lot to this experience. So long answer, but yes, it's had a big impact on my career.
No, that's awesome. So do you sort of feel like these beings, or whatever you want to call them, they're sort of like, you think they sort of figured out how to go and hardwire themselves, and as you explained, then like update themselves to a more knowledgeable beings or something like? Do you think that's something that they sort of may have worked out?
Yeah, I think it's part of the evolutionary process. I mean, neuroplasticity is the cutting edge. Which basically in your brain, your root systems that grow and develop, and you can garden it. You've got weeds in there, you stop watering them, so that's not like me anymore. What is like me? Well, visualization's a powerful thing. So you plant a new seedling and grow it, so that can become a belief that, I'm brilliant at this rather than, I'm terrible at it. And it's just a case of gardening. So stop watering the weeds, plant the seedlings, water them regularly. And that's visualization and emotional visualization and all that kind of thing. Affirmations are a powerful thing, mantras, it's all, you just load your own software these days to take you for the autopilot to take you where you want to go, rather than it steering you off with procrastination and doing all this other stuff. Just update the software. We know how to do it. The science is there now. Neuroscience, neuroplasticity, as I say, is the key to that. And that's how we grow and evolve. And that science is there now. I show footage inside the brain of it happening. I've had the toughest engineers, network engineers, even tougher, going, wow, what's the evidence? So to see it happening in a brain is fascinating. And it just, right, so you can write your software, but this is how you load it. This is how you imprint it and that kind of stuff. So to me, it's fascinating, not to everyone, but most of my clients love it.
Yeah, no, look, it definitely is interesting. So, look, how does it go about then when, like, obviously we've got to try and learn to go and sort of hardware ourselves to go on how we want to go. But then how do you sort of divide between the good information to the bad information?
Yeah,
And so
well,
you're not downloading the
start
viruses, looking
loading
at
a
the bad
program
stuff.
that I'm fantastic at discerning truth from false. And one of the greatest lessons for me has been to ask my higher self. Ask yourself, and I call it my higher self, which is,
Yeah, a lot of
this
people do,
true
actually.
or not? And with time, it's actually intuition, right? Gut feeling. But you get this answer, and I think it's invariably right. It's like, no, this is a bit of hogwash. So if I'm reading something, it doesn't feel right, I don't bother. I only follow certain things, and if they hit the right spot and I'm feeling good about it, then I'm trusting my higher self, that guidance, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's just something you learn. But it's, as I say, I've been doing this for 25 years and riding that wave of originally cognitive psychology. So it's it's not theory based. It's actually evidence based, and that's the beauty.
Yeah, I'm just sort of
Yes,
scared, like,
you're right. Your
obviously.
brain's a powerful tool, but you need to be a powerful tool operator.
That's right, and that's where I sort of feel like, a lot of people, they're getting very misguided by a lot of things that are getting thrown on social media these days. Like, as you're saying, like, you're going through, you got CGIs, you got the misidentifications there, and all sorts of stuff. And I sort of feel like people are getting too drawn into it and starting to believe it, which gives a lot of discredit to the whole UFO community, because they just jump to the conclusion, going, "Oh, it's got to be real," if it's for whatever reasons, without doing the actual proper, you know, investigation to a bit deeper. Because a lot of the stuff you see on Facebook, there, it doesn't come with the details. Like, it doesn't have the times, the dates, and the locations and the details and all sorts of stuff to try and give like a bit of a better detailed investigation to it. Like people just go, "Oh yeah, here's a little video of a little light in the sky," and it does. That's it. I've seen something, and it's like,
Yeah,
well, okay, that's cool. Like, okay, yeah, it's a UFO in a sense, but it could be something that's identifiable or easily
yeah,
identifiable. But
yeah,
because of the
yeah,
lacking
yeah.
information, and people just want to jump on that bandwagon, or they see the CGI crap and think it's real, because we've got the technology now that's where videos are coming through, like I don't know if people have looked into what the new the development engine is, like the Unreal Engine 5. If you know about that, it's a
Sorry, what was that?
Unreal Engine 5. It's the new engine. So video games getting developed through it. There's a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
CGI stuff, um, a lot of stuff, and it's get to the point there where it's near realistic.
Yeah,
It's absolutely mind blowing of what they're getting at with technology these days, and it's
it
so
is.
easy for people to get fooled. And like, there's been a couple times there where I've watched a few videos there on it, and I'm thinking, shit, that's pretty bloody real. And then it's like, hang on a second, like, oh, I'm a bit of a gamer myself, and I've watched a bit of stuff. And yeah, if you know that if you got the eye for it and you just watch a lot of crap videos of CGI crap, you sort of know what you're looking for. And like you just sort of like, oh shit, as well, that's real, that's really cool. And then next thing you see something that just glitches out, or something that just
Yeah,
puts it out of
yeah,
realism. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you got me. You nearly got me. But then
yeah,
the people that aren't aware of that, they get drawn into it and they're like, oh, it's got to be real.
yeah.
That is
Sucked in.
100% real.
That's
And then they're
true.
sucked into it. And then that's where our brains are, yeah, okay, they're a powerful tool, but they're also a powerful tool for deception as well.
Look, brain can be easily tricked. I've done in these leadership development workshops and that kind of thing I run. We do a lot of perceptual tricks. How do magicians, illusionists do their stuff? It's
Yeah.
like, and the brain has got so many flaws in terms of perception. I mean, eyes and ears only read two little windows. In the electromagnetic spectrum, there's all this other stuff, and the amazing illusionists and technology is really helping them as well. But how do you make the Statue of Liberty disappear? David Copperfield, that was, well, you have a stadium here and you just rotate it away without them realizing it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gone. But the brain can be tricked so easily, and that's
Yeah.
fascinated me. And it started back then doing this. And I just want to say, one of the best UFO video clips I have ever seen, with the best collection, is something called "The Fence Is Down." You get it on YouTube. "The Fence Is Down" by Alex Collier, and it's got this most intense collection of close-up UFO craft I have ever seen. It's awesome.
I sort of feel it's too good to be true then.
So, well, you look. There's one thing in it when they got a big thing on a truck that's just a bit mining equipment, a bit,
Yeah.
that was the only one I could go, yeah, nah. But the rest were like, oh,
Questionable.
pretty amazing.
It raises the question of going, are they all legit photos and that?
Yeah,
Because the thing I see, like, sort of argue with it too, is like you see a lot of stuff on, again, social media, of people capturing these, undeniable evidence of these crafts. The detail is incredible. It's like, well, how come you can capture that when everyone's got a picture, like a camera in their pocket, basically? There should be hundreds, if not thousands, of photos of these high definition, you know, high resolution images of these crafts, like everyone's pockets. Like, everyone should be snapping these things. Like, but yet we don't. We always see
there is.
pixelated and crap, and yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. It's frustrating for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you see, you've opened your mind. A lot of people open it and close it. It's like they go, "Well, yeah, nah, no, I didn't see that." And that's what I noticed with the people. So even some of the people, a couple of my friends, yeah, no, I didn't see that. You know, a week or two later, they didn't want to know about it anymore. They didn't want to talk about it. It was all uncomfortable, because it forces you to jump a whole level of thinking into, what's really going on. And it's just too much for a lot of people. So they go, yeah, no, I don't want to know. And so they, stick their head in the sand, but they still get their butt blasted off by the sandstorms. And those sandstorms are arriving right now.
Yeah. That's the frustrating thing too. Like, there's so many stories around the world. Like, there's such a common ground when it comes to UFOs, paranormal, cryptids, and all sorts of stuff. So people are seeing strange things around the world, but yet there's so many other people around the world that don't want to admit to, or even, want to open that perspective of their environments to go on of the possible reality of these things existing. And to me, that's another frustrating part to me. Like, is like, the people who do share their experiences there, they've got nothing to gain from it. And there's too many stories from the past to today's sort of thing. Like, okay, yeah, again, so like a few things can be misidentified, and some people want to go and come to assume and come to conclusions of different things they feel might be something. But then again, there's people like yourself who have seen something amazing, such as this crafts, and people have seen other things that defy all of our known capabilities in technological wise, and yet they still get denied of that, the of that credibility.
Yeah.
So to me, that's frustrating.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, you're a paradigm pioneer, Anthony. That's a good way of describing it. And that is a frustrating role. Sort of break over.
Oh, look, I'll admit, like, doing this whole thing there, I've probably been damaged a lot from, like, because I analyze a lot of images and stuff like that, and a lot of stuff I see through social medias and stuff like that. It's nothing there that I can say is credible. But okay, yeah, I can go from the person's words and how they describe it, as long as it's got the details there. It's like, all right, cool. I can try and you know, identify it if I can.
Yep.
But if I can't identify it, I'm not going to go and say it's an alien craft just to go and boost the ego of someone, or they want to try and claim it as an alien UFO. But like, unless it's done something that's defies our laws of physics, then by all means, yeah, you've seen something that's incredible. But to go and post something on Facebook there, or just a little blop in the image, like, I'm saying, like, I'm damaged from this because it's just frustrating me. I'm at that point there where it's like I can't find anything that's to really help people to be credible in their experiences there. And that's part of the reason why I do this podcast, because I believe the people that I talk to, like yourself, and others that are in the past episodes, and that they're the credible people to me. But seeing stuff through Facebook there, or something that's just can't give that evidence to it, and or crap without the information behind it, then I can't believe it. And it's just again, I'm frustrated. I'm blabbering now.
No. Well, as I said, I'm an open-minded skeptic, but I'm less of a skeptic now. I write off 20, maybe 30% of what I'm seeing, but the rest I just can't. And I know it. So I know now that many of those are actually real, simply because I've had the experience. So I tend more to accept, but I'm still an open-minded skeptic. It's like, as you said, CGI is getting bloody good. And you can pick it though. There's, as you said, there's glitches, there's just proportions, there's things that are not right. Okay, so some guys just muddying the water, but damn, more than half is real, And I mean, how many has to be real to prove a point? Like, if you have a cure for cancer, you've got a cure for cancer. You only need one, right?
That's right.
So it's that sort of thing. I think people. But as I said, splitting the population, and people are waking up to it. But those that want to remain asleep there's going to be a divergence over the next year or two. And when it happens, I reckon there's going to be a lot of crazy people trying to deny what's being it's obvious and that kind of thing. It's going to send some people up the wall. And it's a little split society in some ways, I think. Whether it's like this or like that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit more like that, because I think once people start seeing the more credible evidence behind what people have been trying to explain for the last 10, 20, 30, hundreds of years, how can they deny that?
Well, they can. And
they can
that's
try.
why the whole psychology aspect is fascinating to me, because they do deny the obvious, you know.
Yeah, they do.
And,
Yeah,
and then others accept stuff which is just crap. So
that's right.
so you've got both extremes, and you know that's why I think being open-minded but skeptical. You know, you've got
Yeah,
to
I
be
think
your
it's
own
not a
best
bad thing.
judge.
Look, it's probably a good thing to remain a bit skeptical. You know, I hate the word skeptical. I'd rather call it critical thinking. You know, critical analysis.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, keeping things grounded, but open to the idea and the possibilities of things that are out there. And that to me, I feel is a more healthier way to go and do things because I've seen people where they're a bit too open minded, and you know,
yeah,
and
yeah. So the brains
not to,
fall out.
yeah, basically, and it's like I'm not trying to like you know give anyone a hard time on that, but like I have seen it there where some people just like you know they believe any light in their backyard is a UFO, and or you know they got the
Yeah, yeah.
security cameras there and you got bugs flying around. It's like, oh, that's a UFO there, and it's like, all right, yeah. So,
Well,
and so
some people are
basically,
keen, you know, like they're keen to have an experience, so they're going to try and read stuff into it, and that's being a little, you know, not skeptical enough or not critical enough in your thinking.
yeah, or they've had an
So
experience and they
getting
want
that
to try and get
balance.
another one.
Yeah, well, you know, look, you will. You keep running this show, and you know they'll probably pick up on it and come and say, "Anthony, you're doing a good job there, bro. So why don't you come aboard and have a cup of tea?"
Yeah, oh look, I have seen some other things there, like, but nothing of the nature that you've experienced yourself or others. You know, nothing to say that it's a full on craft of that nature. It's just been a strange light that I can't explain. That's all
Yeah,
I've ever
yeah,
seen in
that's what
separate
most people
occasions.
say.
So, and that's the frustrating part is like you sort of like you know what you're seeing, but you just can't identify it, and that's the strange part. Like, well, is it something that's ours? Is it something that's like you know
Yeah,
is it like you know your I don't know if you want to call it like a bellcraft maybe or something like or top hat, some people call it a lampshade or something like you know, or like the you know the TR3B sort of shape, the triangular crafts and like
yeah,
that's something like
yeah,
I want to see, and I feel like this is something that everyone should see throughout their lifetime and say, look, these things actually do exist, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So you know, it's just yeah, I'm losing myself here.
Yeah, just and I'm going to have to go in a minute, but just
That's
one
all
of the
right, mate.
most fascinating things that's coming out at the moment, even out of the Pentagon, NASA, are people coming out saying that there is a space force we already have,
Yeah, that's right.
and that we have some, and those that what reminded me of it was those triangular craft they reckon is part of this technology that being built here, and
Yeah,
you know, it's like it's incredulous. But these are people who should know and should know better if they're you know talking a lot of rubbish. But you know, it's a kind of as I say, I stay tuned to all of this, but I you know grain of salt. And when you get many people from credible sources saying it, then you know give it a bit more credibility.
that's right, and that's what we need more credibility to try and back this up, just to try and you know prove the existence and but like the other frustrating thing too is like you know you got so many people in the world that are having these experiences there. Is that not evidence enough to the whole world of society? You'd think because like, you
You'd
know I
think
think
so.
it's when you go to a court system there, if you have two witnesses, that's good enough evidence to go and you know justify someone's what do you call it you know go to jail or whatever. You know? I'm kind of
Yeah,
thinking of the
yeah,
words now,
yeah.
but you know. But yet, you know, thousands of witnesses around the world seeing these strange crafts isn't good enough. Like, where's that
No,
work in the justice systems for people?
well, I've come to the conclusion that there are those that are woken up, there are those that are waking up, and there are many that are still asleep.
Mm,
And so, you know, I would observe this. You know, people who observed that back in when I saw it, the big craft, were you know weeks or months later denying the fact they saw it. That was just too
yeah,
uncomfortable for them, and that intrigued me. And it's like you saw that, you know. It's like
yeah.
we all saw that, and you are now saying, no, 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 no. I think it was reflections of a fishing fleet. It was something else. I think I was dreaming. They want to talk themselves out of it, and that's interesting. It's an interesting phenomenon,
Yeah, it is. It's very
and
interesting.
that's what's going to happen with this whole disclosure thing. I think when it eventually happens, is as I keep saying, you know, it's going to be a real ride to something to watch. You know, it's going to be quite amazing to witness. I would expect.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, mate, look, I think we'll sort of end it there. If anyone's got some quick questions before we finish it up, but is there any final words, any final thoughts on the whole topic? If you want to share that quickly.
Oh, look, it's the world's going through a lot of change. I think things are probably going to get dramatically worse before it gets better. You kind of there's going to be this disclosure. This is all my reasoning, right? There's going to be this disclosure and admittance that there are these craft and that kind of thing, and then there's going to be this process of people going, well, Jesus, if that's real, then what? And as I said, I've had 40 something years to come to do that. What next? What next? What does that mean? Extrapolating it all. But a lot of people are going to be struggling with that. It's going to be a tumultuous time. And it will split. I think you're right. It's going to split. There's going to be those who are awake, those who are asleep, those who are waking up will probably rise up too. But there's going to be, I reckon, a bunch who will just go into denial, and God knows what happens then.
Yeah, I think a lot of the religions and those sort of things will go to shit basically in that regards.
Yeah,
Without bringing the religions too
religion's
much into
so
it.
outdated. It's just craziness. God's cool. God's fine, but religion, yeah,
Yeah.
no. It's probably a bloody control mechanism.
Oh, exactly. I feel that's yeah. I'm not much of a religion person myself, but yeah, I think that's exactly what religion is. Just a way to control people, just like a
Yeah,
government, basically.
and
The way
fear,
they do things now. Yeah, fear
and
is a
use it
powerful tool.
use it to generate fear. So, anyways, look, it's been a pleasure, and
No,
I hope your
that's great,
listeners
mate.
enjoyed it. But as I say, you got the scoop. It's coming up. Not this Thursday. Next Thursday's my one, but that 6-part series is probably well worth watching. At least I hope it is.
Yeah.
Might be blowing my credibility.
No, that's awesome. Right, mate. Well, thanks again, mate. It's been wonderful having you on. Hopefully someone who's been listening to this can sort of share this out and try and get some evidence of your whole encounter there over in New Zealand at the time, and sort of bring up
Yeah.
the radio
Yeah,
or even some of the news articles, even try and bring this whole sighting to light a bit more.
yeah, I hope so. Hope you get some people contacting Anthony. So let me know if you do. Who
So
come
I
out of
will
the
definitely.
woodwork and go, yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Here's hoping. So
Yeah.
yeah, look, all right, mate. Again, thanks again, mate. It's been wonderful having you on.
Okay.
Thanks,
Good
mate.
luck.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cool. Hold there if you want, mate, and I'll get to you after doing my little dialogue here. So just hang on a sec, mate. I'll get to you. I'll
All
do my
right.
little spiel here. Righto. Righto. Well, thanks, guys. It's been wonderful having you on. Thanks to everyone in the chats there. It's been great having you on. I'll run through a few names here to say thanks, especially Michelle, got Jane, Facebook user, a few of those. So, yeah, guys, with the Facebook users, I think that's because you guys are going watching through the Australian UFO sightings page, and because it is a private group, so it won't be showing your names there. So, the best bet if you want your name showing up in through the show here, jump on either through YouTube or the actual Encounters Down Under Facebook page directly. Then your names will come up through the chat. I'm pretty sure because I think last time we did the show, we had a unknown there, and getting a little bit frustrated from it. But yeah, Michelle, Felicity, thanks for coming through, and Troopy or coming in. Chris, definitely, thanks for coming in. I think it's pretty much got through everything. But look, in general, guys, look, thanks for coming on the show. It's absolutely wonderful having you on. It makes the show so much better when you guys come through the chat because it's you're asking questions that I don't even think of sometimes there, and you guys really help make the show what it is. So appreciate you guys coming and joining me. I hope you're enjoying the show, and it's been yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. So I have got another show on tomorrow night, so come and catch me at the same time, 8:30. Hopefully we'll go a bit smoother this time without the technical glitches. Technology is a wonderful thing, but it can be bloody horrible at the same time. So yeah, 8:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. So catch me there for 8:30 tomorrow night. Look forward to catching you there. Hope to see you again. Also, yeah, so check out the Close Encounters Down Under documentary, which is coming out this Thursday. And also, I think it's this Wednesday. I think the US Congress is also having a meeting in regards to their usual crap there, but it's also including the UAP and all that sort of stuff as well. So they'll be covering that. Hopefully, I'll have time to go and catch up. I'm not sure exactly what time it's going to be Australian time, but I'm going to try and catch that, and I'll try and maybe do a little bit of a video spiel about it too, and hopefully we get the report on in the coming days. So we'll see how we go with that. I'll try and keep us in the loop anyway. So yeah, look, guys. Again, thank you very much. If you haven't checked out today, the first episode of season 4 dropped today as well. So go and check that out. There's just me talking shit for myself. But yeah, it was a break in for season 4. So it's been great getting to season 4. So again, thanks to all you guys here listening into the show and whatnot. It's been absolutely fabulous. And again, thank you to all the guests on the show in the past there. It's been absolutely wonderful. So I had some amazing guests on the show. So anyway, I'm going to shut up and leave you guys. And all the best. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. And all the best and enjoy. All right. Catch you later. Sorry, Randall. If you want to have a talk to me, mate. So if we'll put him up there. Randall's got in touch if he's still on there. Mate, if you want to have a talk about your experience there, come and have a chat with me and we can have a talk. And, whoever's had an experience, not just Randall, but everyone, whoever has had an experience there, come and hit me up and get you on the podcast. Love to go and hear about your encounters. So, yeah, anyway, I'm going to go and shut up. All right, guys, I'll catch you later. All right.